occasion of the shahadat and the wafat of Hadrat Khadija Tahira salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. And well, based on the munasabat, it looks befitting that we focus a little bit on this holy lady, his personality that basically changed the fortunes of Islam, and whose rank is basically what I want to present to you tonight. We'll keep it short, got 35-40 minutes, try to keep it around half an hour. Regarding Hazrat Khadija, there are quite a lot of things that we can discuss on, and specifically her relationship to the Holy Prophet. But today I want to highlight to you a reality about how Allah perceives the rank of an individual, and then if that person has fulfilled the criteria, how Allah responds in kind and compensates that individual for the work that person has done. And in order to just prove this to you and present this to you, very quick, very short, it's not something very long that I want to do tonight. We've discussed about Sheikh Saduq. You've heard also I've spoken over the last 2 months. Sheikh Saduq has a book by the name of Al-Khisal. In Khisal, he narrates a tradition, which I want to just in passing mention. And a similar tradition, albeit with different wordings, are also mentioned in the Sunni sources in Bukhari. So first listen to the tradition in Al-Khisal of Sheikh Saduq. Then I'll take you to Bukhari, and then there's a reason I want to take you to Bukhari. While we are at it, one thing that I must highlight to you, that for us Bukhari is not any book of hujjat. It is not a book that we value, but not the whole book. It doesn't mean that if we don't regard Bukhari to be a muhaddith, we consider him to be a liar. We consider him to be a nasibi. We consider him to be anti-Ahlul Bayt. There's no doubt about it. But that does not mean that everything in that book is false. There are certain traditions in the book that we accept, those traditions that are attested by our own books. So there are certain places in Bukhari where he's been forced to mention the fadail of the Ahlul Bayt, which we accept is correct. So while in general the book is not hujjat for us, but that does not mean from alif to ya everything is not correct. There are certain traditions that are according to our beliefs, and they follow our beliefs, and they've been attested by our riwayat in Al-Kafi and our books of ahadith. So that is point number one. So at times when certain traditions from Bukhari or the Ahl al-Sunnah are mentioned, it should not raise eyebrows as to why we're referring to those books. We're referring to those books because those hadith, according to us, are sahih, because they fit under the general criteria of sihat and authenticity according to our rulings. So then we pick them out. In Al-Khisal, Sheikh Saduq mentions that the paradise is mushtaq, is desirous, is covetous of 4 ladies. Everybody covets paradise, but paradise covets 4 ladies. And the tradition goes on to say, Janab Asiya, Hadrat Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun, Hadrat Maryam, the mother of Isa, Hadrat Khadija Tahira, the wife of the Holy Prophet, and Hadrat Zara, salamullahi alayhi. In Bukhari, there is a tradition which is similar to this. But over here it is that the paradise is mushtaq, is desirous of these 4 ladies. In Bukhari, the tradition says, Afdalu nisa'i ahlil jannati arba', that the most virtuous of ladies of the inmates of paradise are 4. And then again these 4 names come: Asiya, Maryam, Khadija, and Hadrat Zara salamullahi alayha. Now, when, just like we've got Nahj al-Balagha and we've got numerous scholars who've done sharh, and explanations about that book, which we call Shar or Shuruh. Similarly, Bukhari, because of the books that it has been, because of the value that they attach to it, and understand this, Bukhari, according to them, it is the sister of the Quran. It is regarded, in their opinion, as Asah al-Kitab ba'da Kitab Allah. It is regarded as the most sahih book after the book of God. That means after Quran, if there is any book that is as authentic, it has to be Bukhari. And there are people by the name of Al-Bukhariyun. There's a group called Al-Bukhariyun who regard Bukhari to be so heavy that if they want to take an oath and swear on something, not the swear word, foul word, but they want to take an oath, they want to do qasam, as a replacement of the Quran, they will use the Bukhari. That's how they regard it as important. And because of the importance, a lot of scholars have embarked on sharh and explanations and exegesis of this book. One of the most important and one of the most prominent sharh is Fath al-Bari bi Sharh al-Bukhari by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. A massive scholar, a Shafi'i scholar from the Shawafi' group. The four fiqhi groups. He was from the Shafi'i group and regarded as the master in ilm al-rijal, ilm al-fiqh, ilm al-hadith. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, very important personality. So this book of his, Fath al-Bari bi Sharh al-Bukhari, is regarded one of the top, one of the best sharh that we've got. Similar to, like for example, Nahj al-Balagha, we've got the sharh of Agha Khui, not Ayatollah the Majlis Khui. There's another Sayyid al-Khui who's written the sharh, very nafis sharh. Similarly, in the Sunni world, the sharh for Sahih the Bukhari is this Fath al-Bari. When he refers to this tradition, he starts to explain, because sharh means what? You explain the tradition. He starts saying that, look, this tradition says, Afdalu ahl al-nisa al-jannah, the best of the ladies of paradise are Asiya, Maryam, Khadija, and Hazrat Zahra. Then he says there's a common factor that has given them that particular rank. Understand how, like last night when I mentioned that our guidance continued up to the year 260 Hijri, when Imam Zamana goes into Ghaibat. According to Ahl Sunnah, their guidance ends at 11 Hijri when the Prophet passes away. After that, there's no divine guidance for them. So we've got 250 years more of guidance. I've repeated it the second time. I will repeat it again when I start the Ayyam Shahadat of Amirul Mu'mineen Salawatullahi wa Salamu alayhi. So keep this in mind. This is very important. All the anomalies that you see in the Sunni books is all emanating from this. For them, at the end of 11 Hijri, Safar of 11 Hijri, their riwayat finishes off. There is no more guidance. For us, it goes to 260 Hijri when the Imam goes into Ghaibat al-Sughra. So now, he's now narrating. He's explaining. He comes across this. Afdalu ahl al-nisa al-jannah. Fulan. Then he says there's a common factor that gives them this particular rank. And then he goes to explain. He says, have a look at Asiya, have a look at Maryam, have a look at Khadija. He takes the first three. Then he says, look, there's a common factor that is giving them this particular rank. And the common factor is that all of these three individuals, Asiya and Maryam and Khadija, they took up the care of a prophet of God and supported that prophet of God, as a result of which they were given this rank in paradise. Then he says Asiya is the mother, took care of Musa. Musa was young, she took care of it, takaffalaha, she took care of the child, she developed him, she fostered him. When he became the Nabi, she brought faith upon him, she supported him. Because of Asiya's support to a Nabi, she was given that rank in paradise. Bibi Maryam, the same thing. It was Isa, he was born out of Ijaz. The people slandered her, put accusations, she bore it, she took care of the child, he grew up, became a Nabi, and when he announced his prophethood, she believed in him, supported him. Because of this support to Isa alayhi salam, God gave her the rank in paradise. Third thing, Hadrat Khadija, she took care of the Holy Prophet, she supported him. Because of that support, she was given that rank in paradise. The problem is when he comes to Hazrat Zahra, he doesn't have a rule now. He's stuck. Because now he cannot say what is that reason that Hazrat Zahra has become one of those leading ladies of paradise. For the other three he could provide, for Hazrat Zahra he cannot provide, so he just keeps quiet. He says, there is no common factor that I see in Hazrat Zahra. And the problem is because he's got his formula wrong. He's got his formula wrong. The formula, if you want to see what is right, you need to go to the Quran. When you go to the Quran, Surah number 5, Surah Ma'idah, verse number 55, kids need to remember, elders need to remember, there are certain important ayats that we've got, that we need to know about them. For example, ayat Tathira. For example, ayat Wilaya. These are ayat that we need to know. Some of them are very easy to remember. Ayat Tathira, 33, everybody knows that. Surah number 33, Ahzab, ayah number 33. We need to remember, teach our kids. Similarly for ayah Wilayat, 555, Surah Ma'idah, verse number 55. What does it say? Over here we have to understand. See, when we talk about Wilayat, Wilayat comes from the word Wali. Wilayat means authority. So when we say we follow the Wilayat of Ali alayhi salam, we say we follow the authority of Ali alayhi salam. In Surah Ma'idah, verse number 55, Allah is telling us, look, and why I'm coming to this, because Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani got his formula wrong. Because he got his formula wrong, he could only apply his formula to 3 out of the 4 ladies. He could not attribute it to Bibi Fatima. Where he's made a mistake, I will correct it. And not because I'm superior to him. It is because we've got traditions of 250 years more that he doesn't have. That is the only reason, that we've got the answers, they don't have the answers. And this is there in every aspect, whether it is in aqaid, whether it is in akhlaq, whether it is in philosophy, whether it is in fiqh. We will always have answers to their solutions, which they will never have, because their ahadith stopped at 11 Hijri. Ours continue to 260 Hijri. That's a massive amount of time, 250 years. If you were to add one hadith every day, 354 Islamic years, 354 days in a year multiplied by 250. How many days you would have? If you had even one hadith every day, you would have 100,000 hadith, which we have more. Anyway, so if you come to ayah Wilaya, what does it say? It says, Innama waliyukum. Now Allah is saying, there are certain wilayat that you've got over you. There are certain authorities that you've got over you that you have to understand. And in this verse, he outlines the wilayat of which people. He says, Innama waliyukum. Surely, only people who are your wali, who've got wilayat over you. Again, wilayat means authority. Wilayat means authority. Only those people who've got authority over you are Innama waliyukum Allah. Allah's got wilayat over you. So don't be surprised when we say, oh, how does Allah have wilayat? We never thought. Wilayat means a simple word, authority over you. Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum. Do I not have authority over you more than you have over yourselves? The Holy Prophet in Ghadir, before he said man kuntu mawla, he first showed them what does wilayat mean, what does authority means. Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum. Do I not have more authority over you than you have over yourselves? This is Kalu Bala. They said yes. Then he says, Man kuntu mawlahu, whosoever I am the master and I have authority, Ali has that same authority over you. So authority, walayat means authority. Innama waliyukumullah. Your wali, the person having authority and wilayat over you is Allah, one. Wa rasuluhu, and his prophet. That means the prophethood. So there is one wilayat of God, there is one wilayat of the prophet. And this is where the Sunnis get stuck up. Because the verse doesn't stop at Allah and the Prophet. The verse goes on to say, Innama waliyukum Allah. Allah is your wali. Then Rasul, the prophets are your wali. And then alladhina amanu, those people who believe. But all people who believe, you believe, I believe, are we wali of wilayat of each other? He says, no. Those people who believe, but amongst them there are those alladhina yuqimuna salah, those who offer prayers. وَيُوتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ, and they give zakat, وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ, at the time when they are in ruku. There was only one person who was there from amongst the believers, who believed in God, who prayed the prayers, who gave zakat in the time of ruku, was Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So basically what this verse is saying is that, look, there are 3 types of wilayat. One is the wilayat of God. One is the wilayat of the Prophet and the prophets. And third is the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen and his children, which can follow easily to understand. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani did not understand this concept, or if he understood the concept, he concealed it. Why he concealed it, I will tell you. But assuming he did not understand, and his formula was only those ladies who supported the Prophet or a Prophet of Islam or a Prophet of God would have that rank in paradise. But that formula does not fit with Hazrat Zahra. It's only when you come to ayah 55 or verse number, surah number 55, you come to realize the formula that he was using was wrong. The formula that you need to use is that at that point of time, whoever is the hujjat of God, if you support him, then you become among the ladies of paradise. In the time of Asiya, it was Musa who was the hujjat of God, who had the wilayat. Because of the support of Asiya to the hujjat of God, who had the wilayat at that time, she became one of those ladies. At the time of Maryam, it was Isa, who was the hujjat of God. That hujjat of God had wilayat. Because she supported the wilayat, she became one of the ladies of paradise. At the time of Khadija, it was the Holy Prophet. Because she supported the wilayat of the Holy Prophet, at that time Allah says, I will place you in paradise. In the time with this formula, Fatima Zahra's issue gets solved. In her time, the wali, the hujjat of God was Amirul Mu'mineen. She supported the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen. She got attached to all the three ladies. You understand what I'm saying? This is a concept of wilayat that she mistook, that Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani did not understand. Or probably he understood, but there was no way he could put it into his book that this Fatimatu Zahra becomes a lady of paradise because of her supporting the wali, the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen, because the moment he says this, his entire Sunnism collapses. Because then there is no, if you say that Fatima became into paradise because of her support to the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen, then the Khilafah, the first, second and third gone. Khalas, finish. The whole Sunnism would have collapsed. Knowingly, unknowingly, willfully, unintentionally, he refused to accept the fact that Fatima Zahra entered into paradise because of her support to the hujjat of God at that time, who was Amirul Mu'mineen. Having understood this, I want to take it to Hazrat Khadija alayhi salam. With regards to Hazrat Khadija, one thing that is very understandable is her attachment to the wali of her time and the wali after her time. The wali of her time, the wilayat of her time is with the Holy Prophet. The wilayat after her time is wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen. And this is the time when Islam has just come. Islam has just come. The Prophet is 40 years old. He's announced his prophethood. At that time, Ali is 10 years old. And we've said, if a person supports the wilayat of the hujjat of God in his time, Allah places them amongst the best of the creations of paradise and the inmates of paradise. This we found it, we just said. In their books, in our books. Now give you this couple of instances, because we don't have time and I don't want to take it too long. Just to give you, you've understood the gist, a couple of examples, everything gets into your mind, the kids understand it, that's the end of the majlis. At the time when, before the marriage, you must have heard, yeah, the emphasis for marriage between Janab Khadija and the Holy Prophet came not from the side of the Holy Prophet. It was more on the side of Hazrat Khadija. She was insistent. I want to get married to this man. One of her friends asked, and this is there recorded in history, says, why are you so insistent about marrying this person? He's not very rich. Okay, he comes from a fantastic family. But you can get, you are Malikatul Arab. And she was Malikatul Arab. Malikatul Arab means the queen of Arabs in terms of finance. Her financial status was so massive that historical reports tell us, when the trade caravan from Mecca would go towards Sham and to other places, leave her caravan aside, all the other traders, whatever cargo and number of camels that they would have, would be equivalent to the number of Khadija's only caravan. That means the entire Arabian Peninsula, when they gather their caravan for trade to Sham, if you compare it to Khadija, all on one side, Khadija's on one side. Reports have stated her caravan would be of 70,000 camels. Forget about camels, you might not understand. Look in today's world, 70,000 containers. 70,000 containers in one joke is one go, is not a joke. She was really, really very good. So this lady is telling her, why are you insisting on this man? This is not before marriage. This is not before the announcement of the prophethood, of the Holy Prophet, before Bi'athah. She turns, and this is recorded in history. She says, Alimtu, I know, annahu mu'ayyadun bi rabbil alameen. This man is being supported by the Lord of the worlds. This is before marriage. This is before the prophethood of the Prophet. She saw signs in him that made her want him to be his. Wedding takes place, Aqd takes place, Hazrat Abu Talib al-Islam recites the Aqd, everything is okay. At that time, the Prophet was with Abu Talib alayhi salam. He was being with the Abu Talib, Hazrat Abu Talib. At that point of time, when the marriage takes place, when the nikah takes place, the Aqd takes place, Riwayat tell us, Abu Talib recited certain things, some other people recited, even Waraqah ibn Nawfal, according to certain reports, recited, said a speech or something. His first cousin, Hazrat Khadija Waraqah ibn Nawfal. After that, when they were about to go, the Prophet says, Khadija, let's go home. And he wanted to go to the house of Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salam, because he didn't have a house of his personal house of his own. He was living with Abu Talib. At that time, Janab Khadija says, at that time, the prophethood was not announced. So she used the name. She says, Ya Muhammad, intaliq ila baytik. Let's go to your house. He says, Ma indal bayt. I don't have a house. This is my house. I stay with Abu Talib. At that time, she goes on record to say, yeah, intaliq ila baytik. Go to your house. But this is my house, Hazrat Abu Talib. He says, bayti baytuk. My house is your house. Wa ana jariyatuk. And I'm your slave girl. From now on, all my wealth, my property, my money, my assets, my trade, my cargo, my money, everything is yours. My house, bayti baytuk. Wa ana jariyatuk. Jariya ka matlab samajh rahe aap? Kaniz. I'm your kaniz from now on. This was at the start, let alone what happens afterwards. And the whole life she spent that way. Now, I'm not going to go into details. You've learned it. I'm seeing faces who could be probably listening to these majlis for 50, 60 years. So we don't want to go into that. I want to take you to another step as to how God responds to that sacrifice that Khadija to Tahira did. So this is one aspect about the support to the wali of God at that time. Everything in your this thing. Ana jariyatuk. Somebody, it's like, for example, a queen of today would come and tell somebody, I am your slave girl. With all my money at your disposal. This was amazing. This is unbelievable. Anyway, that takes place. Now, this is with regards to the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet says, okay, they move into the house and he says, all my money yours, use it for whatever you want. This was still now not yet the announcement of the Prophet. When the announcement takes place, and she says, okay, now I'm totally yours, you can use whatever you want. At that point of time, one day the Riwayat tell us, he says he called her once. This was the time when the prophethood was declared. Ghar Hira, when that first 5 verses came, Iqra, recite, and that entire event took place, which we've been hearing over the last few days. At that point of time, one day, Jibreel came with all the paraphernalia about the Islam. The Prophet calls. Now understand, when we are asked about, when we do Usuluddin and Furu'uddin, amongst Furu'uddin, what do you have? You've got Amr bil Maruf, Nahy anil Munkar, then you've got Tawalli and Tabarri. We incorrectly say Tawalla and Tabarra, but the actual Arabic word is Tawalli and Tabari. Anyway, let's take Tawalla and Tabarra so that you understand better. Tawalla means what? Loving the Ahlul Bayt. Tabarra means hating the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt. That means that entire lineage needs to be loved, and in that entire lineage, whoever are harboring hatred towards them, we have to harbor hatred towards them. Over here, the Prophet says, I am the wali of God now. He calls Khadija and he says, Jibreel is just revealed upon me. And he says, this Islam that I have brought has got certain conditions. If you need to follow these conditions, if you need to follow this religion, you'll have to accept the conditions. Khadija said, what are those conditions? He says, first that you know, because I came down and I told you Jibreel had come, is the Tawheed of God, oneness of God. He says, accept it. He said, secondly, you have to accept the nubuwwat, my nubuwwat, and the nubuwwat of all the Anbiya. He says, you are my husband, I will accept you. And all the prophets, if you say, I will accept it. He says, you'll have to follow the Shariat of Islam as it keeps coming. This is still in Makkah. The Shariat is still not come. Shariat started coming in Medina. Usuluddin came in Makkah. Furuddin started coming in Medina. Salat, Saum, Hajj, Zakat, all those came in Medina. So she said, yes, whatever comes, I'll accept it. He says, there's one more condition. He says, what? He said, you see this 10-year-old boy? He says, oh, Ali? He says, yes. He says, Jibreel has said, Allah has sent the word. If somebody wants to follow Islam, he has to follow the imamat and the khilafat of this man after me. Do you accept his wilayat? She said, Ya Rasulullah, I accept his wilayat. He says, do the bay'at. Bay'at was done. How? The Holy Prophet takes the hand of Ali alayhi salam in his hand. He puts his own hand on top of his hand. Then he tells Khadija, put your hand on top of my hand and bear witness that if I die in your hayat, in your life, after me, he's the imam for you and for all the mu'mineen and Muslimeen. She puts the hand on the hands of of the Holy Prophet, whose hand was on the hands of Amirul Mu'mineen, and says, this is my bay'at to the wali after you. Now you realize why she gets included in that entire thing, yeah? And understand the love of Bibi Khadija for Amirul Mu'mineen was just amazing. There's an incident that once the Holy Prophet went to Ghar Hira. After going to Ghar Hira, he came very perturbed. So Khadija's asking him, Bibi Khadija's asking him, what happened? Why are you so worried? He said, Ali was with me, but somehow he's gone lost. So I've just come, I'm putting my saman, because he would take things for eating, for clothes. He says, I'm putting it over here and I'm going to look for him. She said, no, you don't go. I'll go to look for Ali. She climbed onto her camel. She went looking till she found Ali. She brought Ali and presented before the Holy Prophet. Here's your brother. Now, in exchange for this, the love that she's got, God gave her two things, which I want to share with you today. And what two things she gave? Look, in the Quran, Allah has, in emphasizing respect towards the Prophet, and I mentioned Allah with regards to a corporate structure, it's just fantastic how he deals with his Prophet, and specifically the Holy Prophet. But anyway, in the Quran, Allah has in enhancing the respect of the Prophets, there are certain things that he does. One of the things that he shows in the Quran, the emphasis to the respect of the Prophets, is by sending salams upon them. So all the Ulul Azm Prophets have got salams sent by Allah upon them. So you got, for example, for Nuh, Salamun ala Nuhin fil alameen. Salam upon Nuh in the entire universe from me. He sends the salams on Nuh. Salamun ala Ibrahim. My salams upon Ibrahim, my peace upon Ibrahim. You understand what salam of God means? This is God of the worlds, huh? That one little light passing from the eye of a needle is enough to make the entire mountain crumble onto earth. That power, that superior, absolutely supreme, omnipotent might is turning and saying salams to the prophets. Yeah? So he says, Salamun ala Ibrahim, ala Nuhin fil alameen, Salamun ala Ibrahim, Salamun ala Musa wa Isa wa Harun, Salamun ala Ali Yasin, Salamun ala al-Mursaleen. All the salams of God comes to the prophets. You notice in the Quran, all the salam that doesn't come on somebody who's a non-masoom. All comes on a masoom. You understand? Everything is about our masoom. One day Jibreel comes to the Prophet. And after speaking, he says, where is Khadija? So the Khadija was not in the house. So the Prophet says, she's gone outside. Jibreel tells her, this is Rawat there, yeah? Jibreel tells the Holy Prophet, when she comes, إِذَا جَاءَتْ فَأَخْبِرْهَا. When she comes, inform him, إِنَّ رَبَّهَا يُقْرِئُهَا السَّلَامُ. That when she comes, inform her that her Lord sends salams upon her. Those salam that was reserved for the Ulul Azm prophets and for the Ma'asumeen prophets were given to Janabi Khadija. And Riwayat shows 3 occasions when this happened, not once. 3 occasions, when on different occasions Jibreel comes on. One was immediately after Mi'raj. The Jibreel comes on and says, Allah has sent us salams upon Khadija. Allah sending direct salam is something unheard of. But there's this in what I have gone through. There were only 2 people, non-Masoom, in the world, not in the Quran, in the ummah of the Holy Prophet. Only 2 people on whom Allah sends the salams. 2 non-Masoom. And the reason is, I'm going to tell you the next step. But 5 minutes and then 2 minutes and then Masad. One is Hazrat Khadija. Second, And I have seen, and the ulama can correct me, the second person whom Allah sends salam is Salman Farsi. I have seen tradition in which Allah sends salam and Salman Farsi. But there has to be a difference between Salman and Khadija, isn't it? Khadija cannot be same like Salman. Why? Because Khadija is Khadija, the wife of the Prophet, the supporter of Wilayat, gave her entire thing. Rawat tell us that in exchange for this, so this you saw the respect, that what was given to the Anbiya is now given to Khadija Tahara. What is given to a Masoom is given to Khadija Tahara. The salams directly Barah Rast from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he says, no, if that is the case, and I know Salman is also going to get my salam, I have to make Khadija different from her. Now what has Khadija done? Khadija has sacrificed her entire thing. You know how she died, yeah? She died in such abject poverty. She used to, in that Sheikh Abi Talib, when we come into the Masab, it won't be discussed so much, so just hear it now. In Sheikh Abi Talib, she was reduced to eating roots and leaves of trees. A lady who's Malikatul Arab, a lady whose economy, whose trade is equivalent to all the traders of the Arabian Peninsula, is reduced to a level of eating poisonous tree roots and leaves in Sheikh Abi Talib. Because no money left, everything spent out by the Holy Prophet. She passes away. We'll discuss this thing. Masab will not be too long. But Allah says, I will reward you for this. What you have done for Islam, what you have done for my Prophet, what you have done for Amirul Mu'mineen, I will respond to it in a way that up to the day of judgment, people will not forget you. What did he do? One thing. But what a thing. See, this is what you say. Many times you read the Quran, yeah? لا تفعل بنا ما أنا أهله. افعل بنا ما أنت أهله. Don't behave with us in a way that we deserve it. You behave with us in a way that is deserving of you. If a brother gives a gift to his sister, probably he'll give £5. The father will give him £20 because the father gets more money. When you're given, the person, the status of the person who's giving comes into account. And that's why we said, God, deal with us the way you deserve. It is deserving of you, not what we are deserving. Hazrat Khadija sent her entire mal, the money. And I'm using a certain word to understand how it works, yeah? Malik kathir. Janabe Khadija gave Malik kathir in the way of Islam and the Holy Prophet. God says, Khadija, you gave me Malik kathir. You gave me kathir money. I'm going to give you something kathir. I'm going to give you Kawthar. I'm going to give you Kawthar, Fatima to Zahra. Why would I give you Kawthar? Because from this Kawthar will come out 11 Imams who will be the fulcrum of the entire universe. No time after this will ever go where your children are not ruling in this world. And this is our belief, that even when Imam Zamana, before he dies, becomes a shaheed, we've got the concept of Raj'at. The Imams will start coming back one after the other. The first Imam to come back will be Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And then Imam Zamana will be martyred, and Imam Hussain alayhi salam will do the janazah and tadfeen and tashyi of Imam Zamana alayhi salam at the hands of Imam Hussain. Meaning that from now onwards, what you have done, I'm going to give you Kawthar. I'm going to give you Fatima to Zahra. From Fatima to Zahra will come individuals who are the fulcrum of this universe. Even leave them aside, there will be not a place on earth where there will be a person who will be not from your lineage, the Sadat. Every time a person looks at Sadat, Khadija, they will realize that this Sayyid comes from your lineage, because Allah has graced you with something which is Kawthar for what you have done for the religion of God by spending your Malik Kathir. This is how God rewards. This is exactly similar to, I keep saying, that one sajda that Hussein did on Ashura. Allah says, you've done so much for me. You sacrificed. Now I'm going to put the entire world coming to you. 22 million people come to Karbala. They'll say, Labbaik ya Hussein. This is how God rewards. He rewards according to his status. He's rewarded Khadija with somebody, a lady by the name of Fatima, whose children rule the world. Today, who is standing up against the oppressions of the world? One man. Look at her, look at him, and you go back to Khadija. This is Khadija's son. Look behind the curtain, who's running the scene? The 12th Imam. You look at him, whose son are you? Khadija's son. Allah says, you've done so much for me, I will make the people, I'll make the world, up to the day of judgment, remember who Khadija was and what her sacrifice was towards Islam. But then it requires a lot of effort, isn't it? When you are Malikatul Arab, when you've got so much money at your disposal, and then you're reduced to a level whereby you're forced to eat roots and leaves of tree, you need Sharh Sadr to bear this out and not complain. Here, throughout the life, we are at ease. One problem comes, we start complaining to God. You only got me in Leicester to punish me. You only got me in Leicester. The entire Leicester, you only had to pick me up for this imtihan. But never did she open her mouth and complain. But yes, she did leave certain wasiyat before she was going. She did leave certain wasiyat before she was going. Certain wasiyat she gave to the Holy Prophet. And one wasiyat she gave to Asma. Let's leave the wasiyat to the Holy Prophet because now we don't have time. But when she spoke to the Holy Prophet, that Ya Rasulullah, all the things, please forgive me, Falan, Falan. The Prophet is weeping because he's seeing Khadija is going away. And she knows what a support she has been. She has been a support years, decades after her death. He would think of Khadija and he would still cry. And you have a person like Aisha who would get infuriated and say, you still remember that old woman who had wrinkles on her face? You still remember her? And the Prophet says, you don't know who Khadija was. Look at yourself and look at Khadija. You have been with me for so long, but God has not graced you with any child. Khadija, Allah gave me Kawthar. Allah gave me Kawthar to fill the entire world with my lineage through that lady. Forget about the Prophet's wasiyat, leave that. Come to Asma. She turns to Asma. And both the wasiyat was about Fatima to Zahra. The wasiyat to the Holy Prophet was also about Fatima to Zahra, which I'm not touching. Wasiyat to Asma again about Fatima to Zahra. She calls Asma and says, Asma, I'm going to go very shortly. And Karib, I'm going to go away from this world. My daughter is 5 years old. She is very young. And you know, a daughter needs the mother. I'm going to go away and I'm worried about this Fatima. What will happen to her? Do me a favor. When she becomes an age when she's going to get married, I will not be there, but you be my representative at the time when she's getting married. Will you give me that promise? Asma says, Ya Sayyidati, inshallah, I will give you this promise. Khadija passes away, years pass. The time comes for Laylatul Zifaf of the marriage of Fatima and Ali. So all the preparations take place, all the ladies are around. At that time, it's night now. And now the girl has to go to the husband's house. It means Fatima has to go to Ali's house. When it was getting late, the Prophet said, everybody now leave. You all need to go back home. I have to finish a few things. Some wasiyat I have to do, some recommendations. You all go. I don't need you now. The work is done. Thank you so much. Everybody left. The Holy Prophet enters into the room where Fatima and Ali are there. As he enters into the room, he says, Ali is there, Fatima is there, and Asma is there. He says, Asma, but did I not tell you that everybody needs to leave? She folds around and says, Ya Rasulullah, I heard your words, but I'm following on the wasiyah of Khadija Tahira. As soon as he heard Khata, and this was the dab of the Holy Prophet, whenever he would hear Khadija's name, tears would come into his eyes. He says, Asma, you've mentioned Khadija at tonight's time. I'm reminded of the time that she was so dedicated and loyal to me. What was her wasiyat? She says, Ya Rasulullah, she told me that when my daughter is getting married, a daughter always wants her mother to be by her side when the marriage takes place, and I will not be there. Can you take my place? And I said, yes, I will take your place. The Holy Prophet started weeping, prayed for Khadija and says, Asma, you've done the wasiyat, now you leave, because this is a mahram gathering between me, Fatima and Ali. Asma leaves. As Asma leaves, he takes hold. The Prophet says, Ali, give me your hand. Ali gives his hand in the hands of the Holy Prophet. He says, Fatima, give me your hand. Fatima gives her hand to the hand of the father. The aqd has been recited. The shadi, the wedding has taken place. He puts the hand of Fatima onto the hands of Ali. And he says, Ali, hadihi wadiyatum min Allah wa wadiyatul rasulihi. This is the trust and amanat of Allah that I'm giving to you. The trust and amanat of Allah and the trust and amanat of the Rasul of Allah. He is not talking about a father. He is not talking about a woman of a daughter. He is talking about Allah. I'm not giving my daughter's hand to you. I'm not giving my daughter's hand as amanat to you. I'm giving the amanat of God to you, and I'm giving the amanat of Rasulullah to you. Take care of this amanat. The Holy Prophet takes his hand away. In Ali's hand is Fatima. He takes Fatima into the room. That day passes. The years pass away. Till comes the time of 3rd Jamadi Thani, when those things happen that you know happened. And those events took place And Fatima to Zahra, with one hand holding her ribs and the other hand holding the wall. Eventually Fatima goes away. All the tajheez of kafan is done. She waits for night to fall. When night falls, 7 small near companions come to the house of Ali. A very small kafala leaves from the house of Ali, which includes those 7 companions. The janaza of Hazrat Zahra, Hassan, Hussain and Abul Hassan, they are moving out. Zainab and Kulthum are not allowed to come tonight. As they are going, Fatima Zahra is gone, and Ali is not in his senses to understand or to comprehend in the sense and to absorb everything. Up to the time he goes to the qabr, it is okay. When they go there, they see a qabr is ready-made, waiting for it to be put, for the body to be put inside. When the body needs to be put inside, the tabut is opened out. The body of Fatima comes out. At that time, Fatima's body is now picked up by Ali. It is at this time that as he's about to put inside the grave that he stops. He stops, and a certain thing comes into his mind. What came into his mind? Laylatul Zafaf, the night when I was given the hands of Fatima. Rasulullah said, I'm giving you the amanat of Allah and Rasul to you. Take care of this amanat. Allah's amanat is now being returned back to the grave. But one thing is a problem with Ali. You know, in fiqh, when you take an amanat and you want that amanat is there, when it has to be returned, there are 2 fiqhi rulings with it. One, when you take an amanat, it is wajib to return that amanat. You can't do khayanat in the amanat. Quran says, وَلَا تَخُونُوا أَمَانَاتِكُمْ. When somebody gives you a trust, don't betray that trust. Return the money, return the item back. I am returning the daughter of the Holy Prophet. I am returning the trust of Allah back to him and to the Rasulullah. But there is another second fiqhi ruling. Whatever is given to you as amanat, it should be returned in the same state and same condition. Oh my God, Ali has Fatima in his hands. Oh, there are bruises of slaps given by that mal'oon. There are those efforts of broken ribs. Ali is now standing. He's not able to put the body down. What happens if I put the body down? Rasulullah comes into my dreams and asks me, you returned my amanat, but this was not how I gave Fatima to you. Why all these bruises on her face? Why the broken ribs? Why Mohsin dead? What will Ali say? I don't know what happened. Probably a voice must have come from the grave. Oh Ali, give my daughter in whatever state. Let the father take the daughter. I will speak to her. Fatima goes. Khadija is gone. We pray to Allah. Wala wa la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimeen. May Allah curse those individuals who brought about the oppression on the Ahl Bayt. Allahumma la'an awwala zalimin zalama haqq Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad wa akhira tabi'an lahu ala dhalik. Allahumma la'an al-asabata allati jahadat al-Husayn alayhi salam wa shaya'at wa bay'at wa tabi'at ala qatlihi. Allahumma la'anhum jami'a. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم.